Hello stitchy friends, it's Diane from Spencer Ogg Sewing Patterns, dropping into your sewing week again. So this is the second episode in our Funtastic Felt Projects tutorials. Today I have two more Funtastic Felt projects for you. I'm going to walk you through making this gorgeous e-reader, tablet or iPad cover and how to make it fit your own device. And then a more structured laptop sleeve with pocket and fastening strap. If you don't have a laptop, no problem. It's also great to hold an artist sketch pad with pen slots to the front. In the previous episode of Funtastic Felt Projects, we made a credit card case, a glasses case and a pen sleeve. So don't forget to jump back and watch those if you missed them. There are 10 projects in all, and if you want to get hold of everything straight away, along with these bonus 3 projects of a tulle roll, a portrait tote and a landscape tote, my low-priced ebook with written instructions and individual video tutorials is available on my website now. I'll add the link into the text below or just head to the website www.spencerogg.com. If you want to know a little more about felt, which types to use, how to cut it, sew it and handle it, then just hop back to the first episode in the series to see all the details. Right, on with this week's tutorials. Let's go sew! So I've cut 2 rectangles out. I've got a Kindle Paperwhite, but you need to check the size of your e-reader because each e-reader can be different, obviously, but I'll show you how to size that. I've cut 2 rectangles, 7¼ inches by 5½ inches. And just to show you how I've calculated that, I have taken my e-reader and I've measured around the device from top to bottom. So the whole thing. So doing it this way, we also allow for the depth of the device. So that's 14 inches, as you can see. So that allows for the height and the depth of it. So I'm going to half that measurement to 7 inches, and I'm going to add on a seam allowance just at the bottom. We don't need a seam allowance at the top, so I'm just going to add on a 1/4 inch to that measurement. So I've got a seam allowance at the bottom, so that's going to be 7¼ in my case. I'm going to do the same thing with the width. So wrap. We take measure around. Again, we're taking into account the measurement of the sides as well, or the depth of the sides. So that measures 10 inches. So I'm going to half that to give me the width of my piece plus 2 1/4 inch seam allowances. So that's going to be 5½ inches. So that's where I've got my measurement from. So as I say, check your own measurement before you start. So I've cut out the 2 rectangles and I've curved the bottom edges just a little bit. You don't have to, it's just if you want to, or you could just sort of angle them. I've just used a coin to shape those at the bottom. And you can embroider these pieces before you start, or you can add a plique to them. I'm going to add a pocket to this one. But we don't want to add any bulk into the side seams. So I'm going to use a rectangle that's not as wide as the front. So this is 4 inches by 3½ inches high. As you can see, it doesn't reach into the seams at the side, or certainly not at the bottom. So we're just going to place that somewhere that looks good to me. So if it's close to the bottom, in fact I'm going to sort of make it equal distance from the sides and at the bottom. It just gives a good appeal. And then I'm going to stitch around the 3 sides. So I'm going to leave the top open, stitch down one side, across the bottom and back up to the top. You can top stitch that top edge before you start. So you can make your pocket in felt, you can make it in anything you want as long as it's a non-fraying fabric. I'm kind of using vinyl here to keep the layers down, or to keep the bulk down, because the felt itself is quite bulky. So as I say, this is vinyl, but anything non-fraying such as leather or cork will also look really good on these type of accessories and on felt. Anything that doesn't fray. So I'm going to stitch around there with an 1/8 inch or a 3mm seam allowance just close to the edge. Okay, so that's our pocket attached. I'm just going to trim it up, trim. There we go. And you can put a line of stitching in the middle as well if you want to divide it. So I'm going to grab the other side now. So I'd say wrong sides together normally, but there's not much difference in these. Just make sure your pocket is on the outside. And I'm going to match them up perfectly. And then I'm going to stitch around side and bottom with a 3mm or 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. And make sure you back tack beginning and end just for security. I didn't mention you could add a badge to the back as well before you started. You can do anything on these, just add whatever embellishment you want. That was an exploding clip. Okay, trim your baby up. And there you have it, a super quick e-reader case with a pocket for a lead or headphones or a credit card. So just put my e-reader, my Kindle in there. It's a lovely snug fit and it doesn't fall out. Obviously you don't want to be shaking it around like that really. So you can fit in a lead in the front, charging lead, or you can add a credit card, bit of money, anything else you want to carry around in there. And you can adapt this pattern for anything. You can use it for an iPad, a laptop, even small items like a phone. It's going to work for anything like that. So moving on from that, let's soup that same two-piece design up a bit and add on some bells, whistles and design features to create a laptop case. We're going to add a badge, a divided pocket and a fastening to this one. So for my particular laptop, I've cut two rectangles, 13 3/4 inches by 10 inches. And this is how to calculate it for your own device. So just as we did before. So grab your laptop. Again, it could be your iPad, it could be anything, whatever device you want to make a case for. So we're going to measure fully around the device from top to bottom first. So I'm doing inches, let me get it on the right way. So wrap your tape measure all the way around so we get the height included as well. And wherever that meets, that's 27 inches. So I'm going to half that to 13.5 inches, and then I'm going to add on a seam allowance of 1/4 inch. So, but just to the bottom, because we don't have a seam on the top, we're just going to have one on the bottom. So it's 13.5 inches plus 1/4 seam allowance, so 13 3/4 inches high. And for the width, I'm going to wrap it all the way around, and wherever that meets, I'm doing this a hard way, aren't I? Wherever that meets, that's 18 inches. So half of that is 9. So I'm going to cut my panel 9 plus 1/2 inch for little ease, plus 1/4 inch each side for a seam allowance. That's 10 inches. So basically it was 9 inches and I've added an inch onto that to give me my seam allowances and ease. So I've ended up with a measurement of 13 3/4 by 10 inches. But as I say, measure it for your own device. I've got my two pieces. I've curved the bottom edges just a tiny bit as well. I've just added a coin to the bottom. So I've cut out the rectangle and then drawn with a coin a slightly curved corner just on the bottom. You can leave the top edge square. So I'm going to take my front panel to start with. I'm adding a pocket. You may choose to add an embroidery or an applique. Looks great with a monogram, this as well, so anything you want, but as I say, I'm adding a pocket. I've cut a rectangle in felt this time for the pocket, 7 inches by 6 inches. But see what looks good on your own size of laptop. So we're just keeping it out of the seam allowances to keep the bulk down. So I'll position it around there. But I want to add a badge too. So I could add the badge up here somewhere, but I quite fancy adding it to the pocket. So I'm going to place it down here. I'm not placing it centrally because I'm going to divide this pocket so I have it in 2 sections. So I'm going to keep it out of the way and add it there. So just on that, let's stitch that on. There we go, that's my badge attached. Just trim that up. Okay, so I'm now going to top stitch the top of there as well. So we'll be stitching on sides and bottom, but just to make it look nice and even, give it an extra bit of flourish, I'm going to top stitch that top edge first. Yeah, and then I will position it on the lower half. As I say, I'm just going to place it at equal distance from sides and bottom, whatever looks good to you, and then I'm going to stitch around the sides and the bottom with a 3mm or 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. So that's my pocket on. I'm just looking at that. I was sort of freehanding that and not paying attention. I can see that that stitch line isn't brilliant at the bottom and it could go at some point. It's really close. So I didn't keep my 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. So I'm going to add another line of stitching just within there. Just to save my cock up. I just changed my foot. Let's call it a style feature. There we go, and look at that style feature. Twin needling almost. So, save the day. That's what we love about sewing. I'm also going to divide this pocket in half. You could do it in half. In fact, why do it in half? Let's do it there instead. Have a pen and then some other stuff in there. You just do it in half. Do it in whatever you want, but I'm going to do that. Just for a change. Let's have it as a pen pocket. Back tack beginning and end just to make sure it's nice and secure. So we see we've got a pen pocket and we've got a pocket for, could be your phone, could be your memory cards, leads, anything. So now I want to work on my fastening. So I'm just going to use a leather strip to fasten mine. And I've cut a piece of leather, just a strip of leather, 5 inches by 3/4 of an inch. It can be any width you want, it can be any length you want. We just attach it to the back and then bring it over to the front. So on the back, I'm going to attach it with a rivet. So I've punched a hole in both sides of that. So a rivet to the back, and then I'll bring it over and I'll use one of these magnetic clasps on the front as a fastening method. So these are rivet-on magnetic clasps, and they're great for this kind of single layer project as we don't have to conceal the backs. So I've got a tutorial on them on the YouTube channel, and I'll link that below if you want to have a look at it. So just to make a secure base for my rivet, I'm going to add a little bit of vinyl or leather to the back, front or back, makes no difference on this, just to the back of my back panel. So that'll be inside. It's literally just to make sure I've got a firm base for my rivet. So I'll stitch that close to the edge. The only reason I've used a big patch is so that I don't have to worry about where I'm hitting exactly with the rivet later on. You could just use a tiny little bit of vinyl or even Decaville heavy, something like that, just a little spot, but that makes my life a lot easier when I'm putting the rivet through. I don't have to hit an exact spot. So let's add that rivet first on the back panel. So I'll add a mark centrally. No exact science to how far down it is, it's just giving it plenty of room so you've got space to attach and then bring it over the front. So I've got my rivet. I'll just punch a hole in that back panel. pop the other side of the rivet on and into the rivet press. Hard to do sat down. There we go. So now I'm going to add my magnetic snap to this side. So make sure we get this right. Pop a cap on the top. So you can see that's going to come over the top and fasten. This is the back. So put that die into my press. That sits in there. Let's attach that. Yep, that's nice and firm. Change my die. And then I need to position the other side. So let's flip those together. I've got too much stuff on my desk. So we've got wrong sides together. You've got the pocket on the outside and the leather strap on the outside. I'm just going to clip those together briefly so I can make sure I have got an ideal position mark. So bring that over, and it often is really handy to just mark with chalk. Bring it over and pop it down. I tend to leave just a little bit of a ½ an inch extra at the top. You can see just at the top there, just to give us a little bit of play when we put our computer in. So you see my mark there. I'm just going to take those off now and punch a hole. So there we go. We're going to push the female part through there. The male part of the clasp was on this side. And then we could put the cap on the back. And that can go in. You could put an extra piece of stabiliser on there too. So that can go into my press. Make sure it's nice and firm. There we are, so that's our back and front complete. Snap that on. And we're ready to stitch the sides. So, back and front together, wrong sides together. I'll open that for the time being. And clip all the way around, making sure everything matches exactly. There we are, so we're all clipped, so just double check everything's in line. Extra clip on there. Yeah, so we're going to stitch that down both sides and the bottom, obviously leaving the top open. You could stitch the top edge before you stitch it together again, just to give that same look there, but I think it's fine without. So let's stitch the sides. So I'm stitching with a 1/8 of an inch or 3mm seam allowance. So we added a 1/4 of an inch onto the sides and bottom, and that gives us enough space. And then to add our computer or laptop. So there you have it, your really impressive, if somewhat easy, laptop case. So all we need to do is put our laptop in there, make sure it fits. If you are worried about doing narrow seams like this, you can cut the case another ½ an inch wider to start with. Do your seams and then cut them down. So for example, you can see here, I've done 2 layers of stitching. So again, I've just cut that slightly wider, and that will give you a little bit of extra excess that you can either cut off afterwards or leave as a double seam for strength. But I quite like it tight in like this. So again, you can adapt this pattern for anything. It'd look great on an iPad, or even to hold a large writing book or documents, and you could divide the pocket on the front to hold pens, lots of different pens, and that'd be a really nice gift too. So all you need to add is imagination. I hope you made some wonderful covers, or at least it sent you off to try felt for the first time. In the next episode, we'll be making these storage bins and trays. But don't forget, if you want to get hold of everything straight away, along with these extra 3 projects, the ebook with videos is available on my website now at www.spencerogg.com, or just scroll down to find the link. Please do subscribe to the channel for oodles of free bag making tutorials, and we'd always love to see you on the Facebook group. You can share your pictures of your creations. All the links are in the text below the video. Just scroll down and you'll find everything down there. So what are you waiting for? Go sew!